What if Africa was never colonized? This is a question that opens up a world of alternate possibilities, a continent rich in diversity, culture, and history, allowed to chart its own path without external domination. Let's delve into this hypothetical scenario, exploring how different regions across Africa might have developed, how existing relations could have shaped its future, and what challenges and opportunities might have emerged. 1. North Africa, a region of flourishing empires. North Africa, with its ancient civilizations and proximity to Europe and the Middle East, already had a long history of trade and cultural exchange. Without colonization, this region might have seen powerful empires like Egypt and Morocco rise to dominate Mediterranean trade. Egypt, for instance, was undergoing significant modernization in the early 19th century, building universities, factories, and infrastructure. With uninterrupted progress, it's plausible that Egypt could have become a major industrial and military power, influencing both the Middle East and Sub-Saharan Africa. Imagine an Egypt not under British control, but leading a Pan-African movement, fostering regional alliances and advancing scientific research. Meanwhile, Morocco, known for its maritime prowess, could have expanded its influence into West Africa and across the Atlantic. With early exposure to European trade, Morocco might have built a formidable navy and become a significant player in global commerce. By the beginning of the 20th century, we could have seen a unified Maghrebi state that might even have extended its territories into the Sahel, leveraging the chaos of global conflicts to expand. 2. West Africa, the rise of natural states. Moving westward, we encounter the Ashanti, Mali, and Benin kingdoms, powerful entities that thrived before European interference. Without colonization, these kingdoms might have continued to grow and consolidate their territories. West Africa historically was the basis for many great empires such as Mali and Kamen Bornu, as well as smaller polities like the Yoruba states at the Niger Delta. The Ashanti Empire, with its vast gold reserves and organized military, could have emerged as a dominant power in West Africa. In an alternate timeline, we might have seen the Ashanti spearheading regional economic integration, controlling trade routes, and establishing a federation of West African states. Meanwhile, Mali, with its rich cultural heritage and history of wealth under leaders like Mansa Musa, could have experienced a renaissance. Timbuktu might have become a global center for learning and innovation, attracting scholars and traders from across the world. 3. East Africa, an Indian Ocean powerhouse. East Africa's story revolves around its long-standing trade links with Arabia, India, and China. Coastal cities like Zanzibar, Mombasa, and Mogadishu were already flourishing before European colonization disrupted their trajectories. East African nations such as Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania, and Mozambique were legacies of ancient Arab trade that enabled goods exchange such as ivory, slaves, and other goods into Africa and to the rest of the Muslim world. Without the disruption caused by European conquest, these regions might have grown rich on trade and abundance, possibly uniting under a centralized Swahili kingdom. In this alternate reality, the Swahili city-states might have formed a powerful confederation, leveraging their strategic position on the Indian Ocean to dominate trade. These cities could have served as hubs for the exchange of goods, culture, and knowledge, fostering a unique blend of African, Arab, and Asian influences. Then there's Ethiopia, a country that managed to resist European colonization and maintain its independence. Without European interference in neighboring regions, Ethiopia might have expanded its influence, forming a regional empire and rivaling powers like Egypt. Its early modernization efforts could have propelled it to become a major industrial force in the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia's historical expansion into the west and south would have continued uninterrupted, establishing it as a regional superpower. 4. Central and Southern Africa, consolidation of power. Central and Southern Africa present a different dynamic. The Congo Kingdom, already engaged in trade with Europeans before colonization, might have grown into a dominant regional power. With access to vast resources and a strategic location, Congo could have played a key role in shaping Central Africa's future. Farther south, up until about the 1800s, Southern Africa was inhabited solely by the San people. However, starting in the early 1800s, tribes from South Central Africa, most notably the Zulu, began moving south. The Zulu kingdom, known for its military prowess under leaders like Shaka Zulu, might have expanded throughout southern Africa. With time and external trade influences from Arabian, Indian, and Chinese merchants, the Zulu could have transitioned from a militaristic state to an industrialized powerhouse, forming alliances and learning modern warfare techniques through trade rather than colonization. Now, let's look at the role of global trade and external relations. One key factor in this alternate reality is Africa's existing trade relations. Historically, Africa engaged in trade with Europe, Asia, and the Arab world long before colonization. In this scenario, those relations might have continued to evolve on more equal terms, fostering mutual growth rather than exploitation. Trade with Asia and the Middle East would have remained dominant, with Africa serving as a critical link in the global supply chain. Take the example of Japan during the late 19th century. When faced with Western powers, Japan pursued selective engagement, embracing foreign technology and ideas while safeguarding its sovereignty and cultural identity. Through the Meiji Restoration, it transitioned into a modern industrialized nation in a matter of decades without being subjected to foreign rule. If African states had been given a similar opportunity, where external influence came through fair trade and mutual respect rather than exploitation, the story could have been different. An intriguing possibility to consider is, could Africa in this alternate timeline have colonized other regions, including parts of Europe? While outright colonization may seem unlikely, it's possible that African powers could have established trade colonies or protectorates in weaker regions. For instance, North African powers like Morocco or Egypt, with their strong navies, might have established strategic trading posts in southern Europe or the Middle East. Similarly, East African city-states, leveraging their maritime strength, could have expanded their influence into South Asia. However, unlike European colonization, African expansion would likely have focused on commerce and cultural exchange rather than domination. That said, the technological gap posed a significant challenge. At this time, Africa was at a disadvantage in weaponry and industrial technology compared to Europe, making large-scale expansion or colonization difficult. Without the advanced firearms and naval capabilities that European powers wielded, African states would have struggled to exert influence beyond their immediate regions. Ultimately, the question of what Africa could have become without colonization is both fascinating and complex. While this alternate reality may never be realized, it reminds us of Africa's immense potential and resilience. Today, as the continent continues to rise, perhaps the greatest lesson is that with unity, self-determination, and equitable global partnerships, a brighter future is still within reach.